All right, so now we're going to talk about the main theories of what intelligence is. And there are two types of theories out there. So intelligence might be general, or it might be specific types of intelligence. So let's start talking about what general intelligence is first. So general intelligence, it means that is there one global indicator of what intelligence is? Can intelligence be boiled down to one thing? And this would mean that one value, a single value, would indicate your intelligence. You'd be able to take a test, and that test would tell you exactly what kind of intelligence you would have. And this type of idea is also thinks that intelligence is one construct, but this several abilities still contribute to this single construct. So the main theory of this type of general intelligence is called Spearman's G. The G stands for general. And he thinks that general intelligence is the true way of intelligence. There's a factor analysis method. That means all abilities related to intelligence are correlated, and they combine to form one construct. So what that means is, yes, you may have different sets of abilities that all indicate intelligence, but all of those abilities are related to each other. If you are good at one sort of ability, it's more likely that you will be better at another ability as well. And your total skills at all of these abilities forms how intelligent you are. So all of these abilities together in your skills form your general cognitive ability. And your general cognitive ability is vice versa. It influences how good you are at these skills. So you might have strengths and weaknesses in certain skills and abilities, but if you are better at one thing, you're probably going to be better at another. So, for instance, if you're really good at reasoning deductively, Spearman's G says that you're probably also going to be better at reasoning inductively too. And also, this is vice versa as well. If you are low on one task, you will probably be low on other tasks. So what kind of components do they include in Spearman's G? They include working memory, fluid reasoning, so that's the adapting to modifying behaviors to fit your situation, knowledge, so facts that you've learned, things you've acquired, quantitative reasoning, and visual spatial processing. So that is being able to know where things are at in space. So what do you think? Is there one type of general intelligence that carries across most aspects of your life? There are some situations that indicate this might not necessarily be the case. For example, this is Ellen Boudreau. She was born prematurely, she's blind, and she has the estimated IQ of 40, which is quite low. But she can play music perfectly after only hearing it once, and she uses sonar to navigate space. She estimates time perfectly, even though she's never seen a clock because she's blind. and she knows exactly what time of the day it is. So the IQ of 40 indicates that she is not intelligent, but all of these abilities are amazing. These are amazing abilities that indicate intelligence for sure. Well, not for sure, but you could argue that they indicate intelligence. And then this is Stephen Wiltshire. He has autism. He's on the autism spectrum, which does not necessarily mean that he has a low IQ or low intelligence. Some people on the spectrum are actually extremely intelligent, but he can draw from memory. Usually, actually, on the autism spectrum, people actually have, like, especially if they're really high functioning, they will have one set of skills that they refine and are extremely good at. And he draws from memory really, really well. He drew this picture of the Sydney Opera House from memory. That's amazing. So these are kind of examples of a certain specific intelligence. Maybe it's not the overall general intelligence that is measured by classic academics, but there's an amazing ability that those people have. And isn't that what the theorists agreed upon? Is that intelligence is a set of abilities? So specific intelligence says that there are several indicators of intelligence, and these indicators vary across different realms, and they're independent from each other. So they all have different values. If you're good at one, that does not necessarily mean you're good at another. So you could have high intelligence in one realm, but struggle in another. So one theory of this is Gardner's theory. He said there are multiple types of intelligences, and a person has their own intelligence profile. So there's several types of intelligence, and you have your own ranking of where you are in each intelligence field. And each type of intelligence is distinct and independent. Just because you're good at one does not mean you're good at the other, and one is not related to the other at all. And his conclusions about intelligence are that all humans have the full range of intelligences. Some of them might score low on some intelligences, but they have some sort of ability. It might be a very low ability, but they will have some sort of knowledge or skill or ability in that realm. And he also says no two individuals have the same intellectual profiles. So not everyone, no one has the same skills and the same sets of abilities. We are all at different levels of intelligence. And that's because there are so many different types of intelligence. And having intelligence does not guarantee intelligent behavior. And I very much agree with that. Because intelligence really is about ability, right? An ability isn't behavior. It's what you're able to do. It's your potential. And it's not about your performance. So how can we measure potential instead of performance? So Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences is 8 different intelligences. So the first one, he said, is linguistic intelligence. So people that are high on linguistic intelligence are really good readers and writers. They have mastered language really well. Spelling is easy for them. Public speaking might be easy for them, and learning new languages might be easy as well. And then there's visual spatial. So imagining images would be part of visual spatial. Being able to have spatial reasoning skills, so packing up your car to go on a trip with all of your luggage. If you're really good at fitting all of it in perfectly, then you have good spatial skills. And then there's logical mathematical. So this is if you're good at math. If you like to play Sudoku. If you enjoy puzzles. And then there's musical. So if you have a natural rhythm, you fall under here. If learning instruments is easy for you, this is that type of intelligence. Bodily and kinesthetic is being coordinated. Maybe sports are easier for you. You're just a natural athlete. I am definitely low on this level of intelligence. And then there's interpersonal. So you have if you're high in this, you are able to connect with people easily. You're a people person. You might not necessarily be outgoing or an extrovert, but it's easy for you to talk to people or for people to talk to you and for you to bond with people. And then that is in contrast to intrapersonal. So intrapersonal is your ability to think about yourself, be aware of yourself. So people who have high intelligence intrapersonal skills are often, self-analyzing, being really introspective, thinking about what they did that day, what they can do better, how they're being presented in public. They're very aware of themselves, and they really focus on self-improvement. And then there's naturalistic. So people who are high in naturalistic intelligence naturally know how nature works. They just understand that this is how the world works, that of course that's how water flows, and of course that's how cats act. When a cat makes that noise, that means they're annoyed. When a dog does that, that means they're happy. You don't have to learn that, they just know it. So that would be a naturalistic type of intelligence. And then there's a second type of specific intelligence theory called Sternberg's triarchic theory, which states that there's 3 fundamental types of intelligence. So not quite as many as Gardner said, but he said that people display more or less of these intelligences. And again, they're independent of each other. The 3 intelligences he proposed are analytic, creative, and practical. So analytic is academic problem solving, creative is imaginative and innovative problem solving, and practical is street smarts and common sense. So analytic intelligence is the ability to process information and interpret it or explain it. So when you analyze, you investigate parts of a whole and how those parts work together. So people who are good at math probably have a high analytical intelligence. If math just comes naturally, easily to you, and also if you enjoy chemistry, if you enjoy like the rules of science, and math. You probably have a good analytical intelligence. If the analytical intelligence of math and science frustrate the crap out of you, analytical intelligence might not be your strong suit. So researchers also often have this analytical intelligence because they have to analyze data. They have to look at so many different research articles and findings, and then they have to look at their findings and analyze how it all fits together. And people with this type of intelligence usually aren't super creative. They can be critical thinkers, but not in a creative sense. They can be critical thinkers in an analytical sense, but they can't come up with it's harder for them to come up with novel ideas. This isn't always the case, though. They can be creative, but it's not as common. And people with analytical intelligence are usually really great test takers. This is usually the type of intelligence that is measured in academia and the classic intelligence tests. So this is usually the type of intelligence that is actually being measured in schools and in overall intelligence. But there's also creative intelligence. And I don't necessarily, just because, and creative intelligence doesn't just mean like being an artist, although artists probably have high creative intelligence. But you don't have to be an artist to have creative intelligence. The key to creative intelligence is the ability to solve novel problems with creative solutions. So you've encountered a problem that you've never encountered before, and you can come up with a completely new solution to it and be really creative about how you did that. And these kinds of people are often inventors and creators with strong imaginations. So they use their imaginations here. This is different than analytical. So analytical people can be problem solvers, but they use logic and analyzing things. And they usually don't come up with new ideas about things. Creative intelligence, on the other hand, they use their imaginations and innovation to solve problems. They look at things differently, in a different way. And that's how they solve problems. So this comic here is about the guy who invented the wheel. And he invented a wheel. It's a completely new, different thing. So that is an indication of creative intelligence. Then this guy is like, what use is it? He can't imagine what to use it for, like why he did it. That indicates he might not have a lot of creative intelligence. But all of these other people can think of different ways to use it. And that indicates creative problem solving. So they also have creative intelligence. Unfortunately, though, these creative intelligence people are not usually great test takers. Because usually questions on a test have one direct answer, and it is a logical answer that has been, like, there is a pattern to it, there is rules set in place for how the test is done. But creative intelligence people like to think outside the box. So they might not see these rules as well. Or they might overthink it and see a different pattern. Then there's practical intelligence. This is street smarts or common sense. And this is when you learn from life experiences and apply it. When you have learned about how the world works. And you're really good at using that information to adapt to your surroundings. So, an example of this would be washing your hands to prevent the spread of germs. It's especially relevant right now. And it is especially relevant to do so before visiting the buffet. Because you want to prevent the spread of germs, so you should wash your hands before going to the place where everybody puts their hands. And then this one's kind of just goofy, but it's fair. People don't respond to crazy super well. So if you carry a fork with you and someone tries to rob you, pull the fork out of your pocket and say, "Thank you, Lord, for this meal I'm about to have," and charge at them. I don't totally recommend it. It might work. You do have kind of a weapon there, and they might say, "It's not worth the effort to rob this person, they're insane." So, maybe it would work. But practical intelligence is really the ability of being able to adapt to your surroundings, to learn how to change your behavior to fit the situation. And usually people with practical intelligence are really good at social intelligence as well. That's kind of a facet of practical intelligence. They are good at not only fitting in with the environment, but also fitting in with groups of people. So which theory is right? Oh, this is still super greatly debated. Which do you think is right? We don't really know. Intelligence is very hard to measure and prove. It's an abstract concept. Which do you think is the most correct? Spearman's G? Gardner's theory? The triarchic theory? And if whichever theory you think is right, how would you measure that idea of intelligence? See, that's where we get stuck. It's measuring it. Because once again, it's the ability, the potential to do a certain thing, and not necessarily the performance to.